Not quite loud enough.
Check, check. How about that? You guys speak a little louder, is that good? Okay, everybody, thank you for coming today. I appreciate it. The first thing we do, I have a little welcome. So real quick though, I'm going to ring our bell to start our meeting, and then we'll go ahead and stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance, okay? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And next we do our four-way test. What we say is we repeat all the things here on our poster. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And lastly, we'll do a prayer as we're here on Mount Marty's campus. So bow your heads in prayer with me if you would. O God, creator of all things and source of wisdom and knowledge, send your Holy Spirit to guide our thoughts, words, and actions, so that everything we do will begin with your inspiration and continue with your guidance and blessing. Help us to speak and act with integrity so that we may uphold the values of Mount Marty University. May we use our talents and abilities in the best ways possible so that you may be glorified and our neighbors served. We pray these through Jesus, your Son, in the power of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, we'll get started. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. I really appreciate it. It is absolutely wonderful to see all of you. So on behalf of the Rotary Club of Yankton, it is my honor to welcome you all to this very special joint service club gathering. Today we unite at Mount Marty University, and this university, and I would say we're uniting them and the Sisters of the Sacred Heart Monastery. And I would say this because the sisters have left a humongous impact on this community. I would say that no corner of this community has not felt the impact of the Sisters of the Sacred Heart Monastery. Also, Yankton Thrive, Sertoma, Lions, the Optimists, and the Rotary, each with its own mission, yet all rooted in the same shared call to serve others. Rotary's motto, service above self, reminds us that true leadership begins with humility and willingness to put others first. And when you look around this room, we see the same spirit alive in every organization that's represented here today. Mount Marty University continues to shape servant leaders, glorified in faith, education, and service. And the Sisters of the Sacred Heart Monastery are a living example of faith and action, dedicating their lives to prayer, education, hospitality, and service for the good of all. Yankton Thrive fosters growth, opportunity, and resilience for our businesses and community. Sertoma uplifts those facing speech and hearing challenges, improving lives with compassion. The Lions embody service with their global fight against blindness and commitment to building stronger communities. The Optimists encourage hope, confidence, and positive action in the lives of young people. Just as important, this gathering reflects the values that define our city of Yankton: hospitality, friendship, fairness, goodwill, and shared vision for a thriving community. These are the same values that guide civic life of our families, our own chosen faiths, and our service clubs. As Rotarians, we also look towards the four-way test to the things we think, say, and do, as we said at the beginning of this meeting. When combined with the values of every organization here and the spirit of our city, the result is a community strengthened by service, faith, optimism, and action. So today, let us not only celebrate what each of our groups accomplishes alone, but also the greater good we create together. This gathering is proof that when we are united around shared values, our impact reaches far beyond what any one of us could achieve alone. Speaking of unity reminds me of a fable from Aesop that addresses this topic. The father and his sons. A father had a family of sons who were perpetually quarreling among themselves. One day he told them to bring him a bundle of sticks. When they had done so, he placed the bundle in each of their hands in succession and ordered his sons to break the bundle into pieces. They tried with all their strength, but were not able to do so. He then next opened the bundle, took the sticks separately, one by one, again, but put them into his son's hands, upon which they broke very easily. He then said, "My sons, if you are not of one mind and unite to assist each each other. You will be as this bundle, uninjured by all the attempts of your enemies. But if you are divided among yourselves, you will be broken as easily as the sticks. This is a reminder that as a community united, we are stronger together. So without further ado, it is now my honor and pleasure to present today's featured speaker. Agriculture has always been at the heart of South Dakota. It's not just our leading industry, it's our way of life. From the rolling prairies on cow-calf operations to grain fields that feed the world, South Dakota farmers and ranchers carry on traditions of hard work, innovation, and stewardship. To speak with us today about the future of agriculture and natural resources in our state, including the challenges and opportunities facing producers, the importance of conservation, and how policies continue to shape the landscape of rural South Dakota, we are honored to welcome someone whose lives lives these values every day. Hunter Roberts serves as the Secretary of Agriculture and Natural Resources for the state of South Dakota. A fifth-generation farmer and rancher, Secretary Roberts and his family operate a diversified grain and cow-calf operation near Fort Pierre. He has devoted much of his career to public service, beginning in 2007 as Assistant State Energy Director and later serving as State Energy Policy Director and as a Senior Policy Advisor to Governor Dennis Dugard. In 2021, he was appointed by Governor Kristi Noem to lead the newly combined Department of Agricultural and Natural Resources, where he continues to champion South Dakota's farmers, ranchers, and natural resources. Please join me in welcoming Secretary of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Hunter Roberts.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to join here today. Certainly, thank you for the invitation. Nice to see a few familiar faces here. Belong in Yankton. Feel kind of like coming home a little bit, just more rain down here. Up in Pierre, where I grew up along the river. Get down here, it's a lot of the same, but a little bit different. Certainly your corn looks more like corn here than it does at my farm. Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to be here. I was born and raised in Pierre, but went to the University of South Dakota for a very long time. Got my undergrad in business, then got my MBA and my law degree as well. So did a lot of school down in this area. Made it up fishing up in this area plenty of times. Shot bow and Dakota archery about once a week. So, and spent a lot of money on targets and arrows and all that stuff there. So love coming to Yankton, certainly, and then spent a little time at Mount Marty basketball games and things like that. So great community. Charlie's Pizza is still the best in South Dakota. You can't beat that. Enjoy that for sure. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I did play football for the University of South Dakota. I was a little bit bigger then, a lot faster, probably smarter too. But yeah, so go Yotes. Love being down here in this part of the area. I'm not coming back on Friday, but I'm not going to be cheering for the Yankton Bucks. A lot of Pierre people will be down here. A lot of Pierre people down here. Yankton's got a great team, had a great team for multiple years. Certainly Pierre's had some good ones too, so it'll be a great game. Excited to watch it at home, I think. But yeah, like was mentioned in 2021, I worked for state government for 20 years, had a great time. Thing I like most about working in this role is the different opportunities to learn new things, certainly, and meet new people. I think the relationships are so valuable in a small state like South Dakota, where we're knowing the right people, getting to the crux of the issues by having those contacts and having civil dialogue really is an advantage we have that a lot of states don't have. It's just a mob, everything's social media. We have plenty of that, don't get me wrong, but it's nice to have this cordial dialogue where you actually know someone, or someone, your cousin works with this person. It's just a small state that I really like. And I think it's an advantage for our state to have that layout. So I will get into kind of overview of the Department of Ag and Natural Resources. The favorite part of my job is advocating for agriculture. Love it, that's where my heart is, it's what I grew up doing, I still do. But that's not the most important thing that the department does. Most of what we do is regulate. So we have the environmental side, all these federal rules, regulations, and then the state rules and regulations. We're the state's largest regulatory entity. So whether it be a feedlot, we're talking, a facility that has emissions from into the air, or into the water or into the land, you probably come through our department one way, shape, or form. And that's very important. I'm a lawyer. The rule of law is what matters. We don't play favorites. Like Governor Roden likes to say, and like I like to say too, is we cut the red tape, but we don't cut corners. Make sure that our business entities follow our rules, and we're fair in that process, and we have a customer service oriented perspective on that, but ultimately you got to follow the rules. And I think that makes for a lot of these entities, a lot of these businesses, they're investing for 30 to 70 years in our state. It's way better to have a new entity that's going to follow the rules from the get-go than to start bad to begin with. So we have a one-stop process that we have. So if you're a new facility or an expanding facility, we'll bring you in, we'll introduce you to all of our team leads and give you that contact on all these rules and regulations that the department may have with you. And then they'll work with your engineering team, your scientists, and your building team to make sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to getting it permitted. South Dakota is very unique in that. I think we're the first to do that. Nebraska's emulating it. North Dakota's trying to. A few other states are too. I don't think they do as good as us, but I think that's kind of the South Dakota way. We want to talk to you. We want to put a face with the name and get down into the weeds to solve problems instead of create them. One thing that I did mention is we do have a state fair that's under the department. We do have a state fair commissioner, maybe my favorite, Dusty Anderson here. He does a ton for the fair. When we built the decks, we wouldn't have got it done without him. So thank you, Dusty. And then also in the crowd, we have former Senator Gene Hunhoff, who's been a big advocate for the fair over the years too. So certainly nice to see you, Gene. Thanks for being here. Saw you sneak in at the end. So. A big thing of what we do in the department is try to work with reasonable and responsible regulations to allow our producers to do their jobs while protecting our natural resources for our kids and grandkids. We do invest in it. We have a repair and buffer initiative that we've spent over $3 million in, and what a riparian buffer is it's kind of that shoreline area, that 50 to 125 feet next to the shore of a lake, a stream, or a river that we want to protect because it buffers out soil, manure, chemicals, all that stuff. It's just a good protector of our water to keep it clean. That's something we've advocated for, and we've kind of put our money where our mouth is. We spent over $3 million protecting over 80 miles of streamlines, lake lines, and we think we have another $6 million that we're investing right now into those products. So we pay, it's a 10-year agreement. You're going to be able to pay it, but much later than normal, and you can graze it, but kind of after the summer season. We don't like the livestock in the water, so between May and September, you can't have your livestock on those buffers or in that water, but after that, you can have them in there. What happens is in the summer, livestock likes to get down and take a swim. Sometimes nature takes place, and that grows a lot of E. coli. E. coli is not good for water quality. So we've had great partners in that: Game Fish and Parks, NRCS, Pheasants Forever, Ducks Unlimited, our conservation districts have been great to work with. Certainly wouldn't do it without them. So those rental payments are kind of 2.5 times rental rate for 10 years. We pay them up front. So it's a lot of dollars in there. A lot of the agreements are kind of, I love the linear feet because I think that's what matters, but we pay on that per acre basis. A lot of those are kind of a mix of non-crop land and crop land, so we'll have some hay and then we'll have some crop land. Definitely been a big benefit for our producers to help protect that resource, and definitely good for water quality. We've been implementing with one of our water development districts in Skunk Creek, which goes into the Big Sioux River, for 15 plus years, and we've had a lot of success there. That used to be a listed impaired stream. Now it's no longer listed. So there's success there. We have a track record of success. We're just hoping to expand it. We've got a lot of projects in the James River Valley right now that we're working on to implement. So looking forward to that. Agriculture is South Dakota's #1 industry. Over $32 billion in economic impact in South Dakota annually. $12.9 billion in the 2022 NASS survey of ag products. 33% increase from 2017, so we're headed the right way. Net farm income had increased 84% from 2017 to 2022. We certainly know that it's tighter now, but we'll get into that a little later. Expanding market access for producers is certainly something that we've put our shoulder into quite a bit lately the last few years. From the state's perspective, South Dakota is the 13th largest exporter in the nation, 14th in animal products, 11th in plant products. Kind of makes sense, right? We're a very big ag state, but we don't have a lot of people. So where's it going to go? A lot of it's going overseas. China's been a huge market for us. Southeast Asia is a growing market for us. And 2 out of every 3 soybean rows goes across the ocean. So certainly a lot of export there in South Dakota. We have seen further processing. Certainly a focus of the department is, and our governor's office economic development, and I don't know if you've seen Governor Roden out on his Open for Opportunity tour. How do we get further ag processing, further bites at that apple? How do we further develop it so we have higher finished products that are higher value, more jobs created here, more economic turn here, where we're able to export to foreign markets, so less bulk, whether that be through fattening hogs, fattening cattle, or is it High Plains Processing, which is the new soybean crush plant up by Mitchell. That's 100,000 soybean bushels a day that they're going to put through that. That's a lot of processing. That's created, that $500 million investment's created a couple hundred jobs there. And plus the value it adds to that local economy, the competition on basis for our producers is certainly a big win. We'd love to see further processing of those products, more of pushing those that soybean meal out for animal feed locally, and then also biodiesel or other advanced renewable diesel would be great to do here in South Dakota. So we'll keep chipping away at it. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a long-term thing. Near term, love to get Simple up and opening again. Certainly that's not my direct role since we regulate them, but certainly GUED, it's on their radar, and certainly a high priority for them is how do we get that up and running, because that's great for our producers and great for the community to have those jobs here. Looking at foreign exports, in 2023 we had $1.4 billion of soybeans exported, $644 million of corn, $525 million of soybean meal and distillers grain, and $366 million of beef. Oh, I guess I misspoke here. Soybean meal is $358 million, plus distillers grain was $644 million. So we export a lot of our products. I've had the privilege of working with South Dakota Trade, a newer entity in South Dakota that's working with businesses, working with our checkoffs, working with the Governor's Office of Economic Development and our local economic development corps to create a new trade entity. I think we're in year 3 now. Seems to be working. Our first trip to Mexico in 2023, Lieutenant Governor Roden at the time led us there. I had the privilege to go along. We had 6 businesses there. We kind of do this hybrid model. So we have this kind of the government model, and then we have the actual businesses that are selling there, and then we had a guy from our Soviet checkoff kind of in the middle ground. It's a nice mix, and then during the day we'll overlap meetings, so we'll all be in some meetings, but a lot of times we want those businesses selling. So they're doing business to business sales. We had Advanced Sunflower, who sells a lot of sunflowers down there already. We had Agripier, who produces cheese in Lake Norden. They sell a lot of cheese there already. But we also had some newer businesses or just domestic businesses that hadn't done it. It's their first trade mission. To have them kind of have that peer review, working with some folks that are very experienced at it, but then also, kind of go along with the delegation, kind of have those safeguards, and then having us help set up those business to business meetings was very productive. It's a good model, I think, that we've looked to replicate going forward. While we were there, I guess in the 6 months following, we had a 60x return on investment. So 60-time return on investment that those businesses made by going down there. So they had 60 times more sales than what their cost was to go there. So remarkable. I think average is kind of 11 to 12 is very, very good. To have 60x was a great way to start things. So we set the bar pretty high, and we're always trying to beat that now. The governor, South Dakota Trade's been to Israel a couple times. They were back to Mexico this spring, going to We were in Ireland and London here in late August. The governor, GOED, South Dakota Trade, and myself. I had great discussions there about kind of artificial trade barriers, foreign direct investment. Certainly Ireland has some great agriculture economy now. It looks a little different than ours, but kind of the same climate. Looked at, definitely, we have a couple of Irish businesses here, looked at potentially growth out of that, so that was exciting. And to talk kind of, what are your trade barriers, what are ours? Telling our story of our producers, how our producers are multi-generational, they're in it to last, they love their land, they love the products, they take great pride in what we do. Just telling that story to these foreign buyers helps. Because if we're not doing it, some of those folks that don't like us are gonna be telling a different story. Or they're gonna be telling their own story about their producers. We do agriculture great in South Dakota, great in the US, and we need to continue to kind of beat that drum. So I should say we're South Dakota Trade, the first week in June is going to Canada on a trade mission. That'll be our first time in Canada. Mexico flipped actually this last year. Traditionally, Canada's our biggest trade partner and Mexico's our second biggest one. Kind of makes sense, right? That flipped. Actually, Mexico last year was our biggest trade partner and Canada is our second largest. So, definitely those ties got to keep farming where we have those great relationships, and the supply chain logistics are a little simpler. Nice thing about all this is Luke Lindbergh is now the USDA Undersecretary of Foreign Ag Service. He was the founder of South Dakota Trade, so he's a South Dakota guy. He's now going international once a week, almost it seems like, helping beat the drum of U.S. agriculture. And we have all the confidence in the world in Luke that he's gonna do a great job. He did a great job with South Dakota Trade. He's doing a great job at Foreign Ag Service. He's only been there a month, but it's nice to have him in that spot, have that connection. He's tied to our agriculture producers, so he's telling our story overseas, which is great. We all need trade deals. Right now, driving down here, it's like, holy cow, is this all irrigated corn or what's going on? There's a lot of corn and a lot of beans in this state. Traditionally, South Dakota is kind of 650 to 860 million bushels of corn. I think we're gonna have well over 1 billion this year, and we're not alone. Iowa, Minnesota, Indiana, Illinois are all looking at great crops. And then we're having China's not buying right now, so we're gonna have a lot of price pressure. That's not good for our row crop producers at all. Good news is we have a lot of product to sell. Bad news is we have a lot of product to sell that drives down markets. So there's some challenges there. We're certainly helping Mr. Lindbergh and USDA Secretary Rollins and others kind of tell our story that, hey, our ag producers, they need to be treated fairly. You need to be watching out for us. And they get it. They're working on it. They're trying to figure out things to make sure that the appropriate incentives are in place and benefits are in place to make sure that U.S. agriculture has a fair shake on the international trade, and that our producers are able to operate on a profit. Because if we don't operate at a profit, you're not able to pass that farm on to the next generation. 97% of South Dakota ag producers are family owned. So that's very high compared to others, and we want to keep it that way. And if you're not making money, it's hard to do that. The state government, Governor Noll and Governor Roden have been very supportive of the next generation. One thing that the Governor's Office of Economic Development has supported is the Keep Farmers Farming program, which that's a consultant-based process where a producer or a family can get together with a consultant and get some expert advice on kind of how you work through this. Who do you got to talk to. Everyone's got lawyers, everyone's got accountants, but not all lawyers and accountants do estate planning. And accountants and lawyers aren't experts at giving kind of that family dynamics type of discussion. So this Keep Farmers Farming program is actually a spin out of First Dakota National Bank. We partnered with them. It's moved over to the Ag Foundation, so it's not tied to any bank anymore. We were able to provide a couple $100,000 to kind of incentivize them growing that business, because they have hundreds of farmers out there that are interested in this. They just don't have the capacity. They've added, I think, 1 or 2 employees, and they need to add more, hopefully. So it's a cool thing. It's not very high cost from the state of South Dakota perspective, but it's so important if you want to, for families to get together and talk about what they want to do with their estates before they're at a funeral talking about what the state looks like. That's not the right way to do it. Sometimes when it comes to transitioning plans, kids can't pay full-blown retail for land prices now. So how do you make it work for everyone? Having Alan Hoyer and his team at Keep Farmers Farming is a good perspective on kind of that family dynamic. Good talking point that we love. Keep telling his story, and hopefully he continues to be very effective at transitioning those farms. I mentioned a little bit agriculture challenges, certainly technology, input cost increases, shifting global and domestic markets are always a concern. The ag economy the last couple of years on the row crop side has seen some lower prices and higher input costs, so less profitability. This year's looking rougher than normal. So we're challenged there. We did see first quarter 2025 bumped up, but there was kind of an ag subsidy payment there that kind of helped people's bottom lines. So that's something we're watching really close. Agriculture is big in South Dakota. The state government cannot fix that. But we want to be cognizant of what's going on with our ag economy and look for ways federally or internationally that we can help improve things for them. Lamb farm demographics, I mentioned 97% of South Dakota farms are family owned. We have seen since 2022 a decline in farm acres. 43.8 million acres in 2022 were farmable. We lost 1.5 million acres of farmland between 2002 and 2022. So over 20 years, we lost 1.5 million acres of farm ground. Where is it going? I think urban sprawl, some of it, or a lot of it. Certainly, some of it's just not being produced in agriculture. They're not running cows on it, or not grazing it, not using it for any ag revenue. So that's something we need to watch closely, because that's a lot of acres to lose in 20 years for sure. Our farmers are aging too, not quite as fast as they were. Average farmer in South Dakota is 59. 59. Our average farmer is 59. So not young. I'm 46. I'm considered a young farmer. That's probably not right where we want to be. We do, national percentage-wise, 11% of our farmers are 35 and under. That's higher than the national average. So there's a little peak that we're maybe turning the corner there. We're aging slower than we were the previous 20 years, our farm community, so that's good, but we're still aging. 52% of our farmers are between 35 and 64, and then 37% of our farmers are 65 and older. So retirement age and older. So God bless them. I know my dad's 70. I farm with him. He's slowing up, but the day he can't go check cows, he's gonna want my mom to put the pillow over his face. That's what he loves to do it. He gets up in the morning, goes and does something. It's awesome. It's definitely an inspiration. We talked about kind of how tight things are for row crop farmers. I had the opportunity to sit at a round table with Senator Rounds yesterday, morning with a bunch of ag producers. Senator Rounds gets it. I'm sure Representative Johnson gets it, and Senator Thune get it, that the row crop thing is really tight right now, and something needs to change. What's that look like? I mean, we're all hoping we can make it to next year, but when renewals happen, things are gonna be tight on the bottom line. So how can the federal government, if we don't get big trade deals, how are we gonna fill in that spot? I think payments I know was part of the discussion. We'd much rather as producers get our checks from the co-op than from the government, and we need to get that right size going forward for sure. Farmland values continue to increase. Last year they increased 6% again. Average farm value is $2,780 an acre, much more down here. That creates official burden for new farmers. But on the good side, the beef side, is record prices right now. $2.24 average per hundredweight is good, certainly. I mean, you see butcher steers, $4,000. It's just wild. Calves selling for $2,000. It's just pretty nuts. But there's cheap corn to feed them, cheap feed sources, and then a consistent demand on U.S. market for that high-quality protein that we produce in South Dakota. So hopefully that continues on. If I had all the answers, I'd be on a beach somewhere probably, but we're hoping, The U.S. is down on beef right now. We're at a historic low for the number of beef cattle we have, and that's part of the price increase. I don't know how sustainable it is right now where we're at. It's great. I have cows and calves, and it's great, but it's maybe not sustainable. We'll see what the market does. Certainly we want our consumers to love beef. They do love beef, but when you go in, and I was with a processor a few weeks ago, and beef knuckle, so the knuckle of a beef is worth more than pork loin per pound right now. It's just wild. How many people have eaten beef knuckle? I have not eaten beef knuckle. But I've eaten a lot of beef and pork loin. But it just blows me away. It's like beef knuckle is worth more than pork loin per pound. Crazy. So Governor Roden he started in January. He's an ag guy, ran a cow-calf operation. That was his career. Been in the legislature for a long time. Certainly he's a roll up your sleeves, get into the issues and try to help things. He's had the Open for Opportunity Tour. I know he's been down here. He's been everywhere across the state on that. I've had the privilege to go along with him on several of those. Just meeting with businesses, meeting with the community, meeting with education, kind of learning kind of what's going on there, what their issues are, and learning more about our state. It's been a good process. It's been a lot of fun for him, very interesting for him, and just getting to meet new people. He is 100%, his heart is in agriculture. He'll do everything he can. I know I work for him, and I know Commissioner Even, who comes from the pork side, definitely with a ton of life experience in the ag world. He is a fifth generation farmer like myself. Our directive is, let's grow agriculture, let's protect agriculture. How do we continue to grow this? Because it's like anything, it's our biggest sector in our state. If we can grow at 5%, that's a huge dollar impact on our state. So how do we keep doing that? How do we keep getting further processing? How do we keep investing in the right way? It's certainly what Governor Roden hits us with all the time, and that's where his heart is. Certainly, he loves education. He loves the other things. Right now, he loves the prison. Hopefully, he still does after today. I'm personally kind of sick of it, ready to move on. So there's a special session today. So in Pierre, trying to fund a new state penitentiary. So it's been a lot the last 6 months or so, and hopefully we can move to construction side of things instead of just the continual dialogue. We'll be counting the votes from the Yankton area legislators for sure. Governor Roden also had hosted a Governor's Ag Summit we do every year. He's in Deadwood this year. Last year, a lot of fun. Had some speakers from across the state. He was a few weeks ago at the Mitchell High Plains Processing ribbon cutting. He spoke. I got to go along with him. It was just a great celebration. That facility pushing out 100,000 bushels of soybeans a day. It's just a lot of draw. I think just the logistics tied to it. How many trucks in and out, and I think two train loads of soy meal a week they're pushing out to go to the Philippines and places like that. Plus, I don't know how many, 125 trucks I think a week of soy meal to go locally to the feed market too. It's just wild. So great to celebrate those wins. Certainly we want more. What can we do to get more of them? Sometimes these projects we get these projects. We're a free state. We're willing to get things done, but we follow the rules. So how do we continue to build on that instead of, like I said, only getting one bite of the apple, putting that corn on the rail and sending it across? Let's make ethanol from it. Let's make other products from it. Let's get distiller's grain and then utilize that more in our economy before we send that finished product somewhere else. That's certainly a focus of ours. We need to continue to push that, but it takes time for sure. We've also, obviously, we have some other federal partnerships out there. Roger Chase is former chair of our House Ag Committees from here on. He's a producer right there. He's now our state farm service agency director. Good guy, definitely loves producers, willing to sit down and help us. He was a ton of help at the fair for us when he was a legislator, and he's been great. We had a celebrity pie eating contest at the state fair this year, and Roger just dominated all of it. I mean, it wasn't even close. I took one for the team, and I participated as well. I'm half done. We're 3.5 minutes in, and he's done. It was just impressive. The guy, hidden skill. I mean, he was definitely a dark horse on that. Personally, I'm not having cherry pie for a couple of years. It was gross. Guy's a phenom, but it's nice to have that relationship. Governor Roden's got Secretary Rollins at USDA's cell phone number. He's got Secretary Zeldin at EPA's cell phone number. I've had the opportunity to sit down and chat with both of them with him there. He talks to him on a regular basis. To have that federal contact is helpful. Certainly something that we're willing to leverage moving forward, so we have those ties, I think, is huge. Generally, our federal impact in South Dakota, we're punching way over our weight compared to historically we've been with, obviously Senator Thune being the leader. And it's pretty remarkable. With that, I'll take some questions, but thank you all for your time. Certainly, together we can build stronger agriculture together, but we got to keep the dialogue going. Looks like I already have a question. Don?
Hunter, you haven't said anything about tariffs.
I can talk about tariffs.
You gotta have an impact on farmers.
Yes.
How are these other countries that need our food, how are they behaving towards tariffs?
So, generally I think some countries have been a little offended that we wanted to have this discussion with them. President Trump's the ultimate deal maker. He likes to sit down and push things around and hopefully get to a good deal. The art of the deal is what he's all about, right? And he's got some good people to do it. But these type of things take time. And China's a little different entity. They're pretty hostile to us right now. And especially for us in the northwest side of the Corn Belt and the Bean Belt, they're playing hardball, and it's impacted us even more. Because they haven't bought new crop beans. Well, I think 50% of our beans go to China. That's a problem. So, of course, they're not a normal democracy either. So they're playing hardball with us. Are we going to get a deal there? I don't know. I think something will happen eventually, but at the same time, they've helped expand agriculture in Brazil, and Brazil's producing a lot more beans than us, and exporting a lot more beans and corn than, they passed us last year as the largest corn exporting country in the world, and we'd held that place ever since corn had been exported before that. So I think we got some challenges on the China side. I think Southeast Asia and Africa are the future. When you look at age demographics, China's dying. Their population is declining. They'll deny how much they're declining, but the one-child policy is killing them. Their workforce is going to be so small in 20 years, and they know it. So they're kind of on tilt, I think, trying to push their agenda. Workforce there is expensive. It's not like they used to be. So they have some problems there, but they're still pushing. I don't think we're going to solve the China problem very fast. I hope we do, but it seems like they'll be posturing. Their government works different than ours. So they're not going to fall in line. As far as the rest of the countries, India would be a big get. It's not as easy as people think. We do have a trade deal with Indonesia. That's a huge growing market. Their wealth has increased a lot. Their per capita GDP has grown a lot. And I guess my experience is, as we have more wealth, we invest in better protein. Well, we have the best beef in the world here. Plus, we have a lot of feedstocks for pork, distillers grain and soy meal make great feedstocks for poultry and pork, which is definitely big in a lot of those countries, and then into beef. So, and dairy is taking off too. We've grown our dairy industry. In the 90s, we were down to 80,000 cows. Now we're at over 135 or 235,000 dairy cows, and each of those cows is producing 35% more than they did in the 90s. And this is all this chicken age, the processing, and the dairy producer. It's been a great benefit for our state, just more value added. Cheese is a lot easier to export than a lot of other things. Fluid milk, be a little challenging.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question. So I don't know where it'll go. Certainly it's a problem. I think I have enough time to kind of expound a little bit more. I grew up with free trade. I've been doing these trade missions. I've been in this world long enough that free trade doesn't exist. You go for fair trade. because there's always arbitrary and capricious government rules, regulations that play favorites on their own industry. But how do you make it so, we're protecting our industries and theirs would be fair trade? So that takes sitting down and grinding out details. That takes time. And that, I know that's what the Trump administration is trying to do. For years, China's been stealing our technology. But then we had an open free trade market for our ag products. Well, dollars and cents wise, was that fair for US businesses? Might have been good for our agriculture economy, but that trade-off is real. I don't know how to quantify that. I know that our producers need help. We need markets. But we also don't want our technology stolen by China from all our businesses that they've been doing for decades unchecked. So leveling the playing field there is important. That being said, we have the best agriculture in the world. Let's not ruin it. We got to keep protecting that as well. So that really went long, Don. So. Any other questions? Yeah, Gene.
Just to follow up on Don's question, you sort of identified the scenario. What I'm interested in, what are you doing on the short term and intermediate term to assist you talked about your trip to Ireland, you talked about some of these other countries. What actively is the department doing to try to minimize these loss of sales?
So good question. So when we were in the UK particularly, Trump had just trying to trade deal there for no tariff beef and a bunch of ethanol. So we had a representative from our U.S. Beef Industry Council and our president of our South Dakota ethanol producers there talking to them about regulations and how we get those two products. Obviously ethanol and beef are huge in our state. How do we serve that demand? So that would be, quick hitter, interim, Trump, follow up Trump's lead on that and get into market and push hard. I think that was very productive discussions. I know that last week, Secretary Rollins, President Trump, and Undersecretary Lindbergh were over with a bunch of ethanol producers trying to finalize some sales into that market. So we're working on the interim. But ultimately, the state of South Dakota is not selling these products. We got to have our businesses. So we work hard to get our businesses in the position to make sales, but ultimately they got to make the sales. That's not our job. We put them in a good position and a better position, but ultimately they got to make the sales. Certainly, behind the scenes, we're having discussions with USDA on kind of what the future looks like. Certainly, candidly, Senator Rounds had a lot of discussion yesterday about what our ag producers need on the row crop side of things to kind of make it to next year and what long-term looks like. I think still our best play in South Dakota is we're consistent government. How do we have consistent regulations, consistent rules that set the table for long-term growth? And like we see growth as ag development, further processing, things like that. One more question.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Now, I excuse me for being somewhat naive about ag, but one of the question I have is, can you talk a little bit about like emerging markets? So as we're going for these countries that maybe have not usually imported our goods, especially from here from South Dakota, we know the quality is amazing. You talk a little bit about what's that process like, and how do you get your foot in the door, and how do you even work out those deals to even go to emerging markets where we may not have been before? I said maybe that's a silly question. I would just don't know that process.
No, that's a good question. The question is, how do you get into emerging markets if you have a product to sell? USDA Foreign Ag Service has people in, I think, 60 plus different countries, and they serve every region. So that'd be a great resource to go talk about kind of what they have. Market intel documents that kind of show kind of the way it is, how it would work, and they'll work with you first face-to-face. They'll help schedule meetings. The U.S. Embassy, the State Department, and then U.S. Department of Congress, not Congress, U.S. Department of Commerce, all are great entities that help on that foreign trade side. They're a great first get to. On the state side, South Dakota Trade helps do trainings on kind of what U.S. documents you need and federal documents you need to kind of get through that process. They'll help hold your hand through that process. Once you have a product, though, you got to go ask them for help. Ask for help, and it's out there. Certainly, SBA has some good programs that will help fund that. Through South Dakota Trade, they will help, and SBA, if it's your trade, if you're on a trade mission, they'll buy down half your cost to go to a food show or to go to some sort of thing for your first couple shows to kind of help buy down that cost so you can try it out and see if it's worth it. So there's tools out there. you gotta take advantage of it now. It's not easy, for sure. Great question.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. Awesome to be here.
Okay, well everyone, thank you for coming. Yes.
We want to announce that our next joint service club meeting will be October 24th.
Okay, so October 24th is the
Here,
next joint service club meeting here.
Yep, State of Education, Mount Marty, Yankton School District will be our presenters. It'll be hosted by the Optimist Club.
Okay, Optimist Club. Now, if that's a Thursday, is
Thursday.
that a Thursday? Okay, this will be a Thursday, October 24th, right here. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate you being here, taking time to come in. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you so much for coming here today. Really appreciate it. Again, thank you. I'll ring the bell and close the meeting.
Okay. Hold on to the shelf.